Ohayo, Ohayo, Ohayo gozaimasu. Welcome back to the Life of the Party podcast. I'm your boy MC Ricky. This is episode number 3 entitled Let's Get It Started. So I've done episode 1, the beginnings, episode 2, the wonder years. Now we're here at episode 3. So in episode 2, I talked about particular venues I used to go to in the Yokohama Metropolitan area. I didn't talk about the Tokyo Metropolitan area, but to be quite honest, I can't tell the story without mentioning notable venues that I went to in the Tokyo Metropolitan area. So once again, this is stemming from the 01 to 08 time frame. I got into party promotion being an MC in 2008. So some of the venues I used to go to, I'll talk about that. Now, there's one notable venue I used to go to, Club Harlem. Now, if you've been to Japan and you're a fan of solely dedicated hip hop, then you have been to Club Harlem. And what I liked about Club Harlem, once again, I used to go to the clubs early to go ahead and dance. I like to dance. Once again, it's a notable dance. You used to get modeling jobs from that, freestyle dancing and everything. So basically, you get through the security checkpoint at Club Harlem. You go up the stairs. There's actually 2 floors. There is kind of like a VIP, but it's small. But people don't go there for the VIP. They go there for the experience of the music. They go there for the notable DJs. Harlem would book notable DJs from the US and across the world on occasion. It was really a joy to see just the unique talent and skill that those DJs would exemplify throughout the week. It's not just limited to Friday and Saturday when going out in Japan. They had a really big party on Tuesday nights. Yes, Tuesday nights. Usually your work week would start on Monday and you'd be like, oh, it's Tuesday. No, Tuesday night was just amazing. They had this party called Red Zone. And I used to go there. It was an extremely fun time. It was something to see just people kind of connect with the DJ and connect with the music that was being played. A lot of times you go to a venue and people are just off in the cuff, just kind of, doing their own thing. They're feeling their own vibe, but they're not into the parties. But the people that went to Club Harlem really and truly, honestly enjoy the music and went there and they moved their body. It was really, really nice to see. I have a particular story that includes this notable DJ. We're still friends to this day, still doing his thing. DJ Sugi from the 02 to 08 time frame was a resident DJ at Club Crunk in Fusa on Friday nights. Before I got into party promotion, we kind of connected on a particular vibe. I don't know if it was because I was a dancer or he thought I was cool. I thought he was definitely cool. He's playing the music and his selection was on point. I used to go there just to hear like the latest songs I had purchased over the years. I just like, oh, Sugi, you gotta drop that in the club. Man, he dropped that in the club and 50 Cent came out, boy. Man, absolute fire. Goodness. Game over, Little Flip. What else? Just think about every major song. DJ Sugi dropped it in that club and the club just completely shut down. Just ridiculous. Primetime slot 2 to 3 a.m. In the States, you going home, getting ready for the next day. In Japan, no. Forget the next day. You party till 5 a.m. So me and Sugi, I remember one particular time, we went on a Tuesday night to Red Zone. Now what was unique and what is unique to a lot of DJs is that if you have a residency, the days that you're not working, obviously that's your time to kind of get out there. It's all about exposure. Most of the time, out of sight, out of mind. So if you show your face, hey, you never know what can happen. But me and DJ Sugi drove up there. There was a particular rule or guideline for Harlem during this time frame. I don't know exactly what it was for, but in the midst of everything and all the music that was coming out, from 1997 to 2007 was like the dirty decade. If you're a fan of Dirty South and the type of crunk music that used to come out, and people would go crazy and sometimes fights would ensue. So I don't doubt for a second that something happened in Harlem, or they heard of something happening in other places and they kind of wanted to stop it from potentially happening. So if you were a foreigner just across the board, you had to have a female escort in order to get into the venue. Now, once you got into the venue, you're all good. But in order to get past that checkpoint, you had to have a female escort. And some of my boys would say, we got to bring sand to the beach? What? Huh? What? Huh? But anyway, once you did that, you're good to go. So, if you got some friends that you're cool with, you have them come with you, and then you can just get in. And Shibuya that's where Club Harlem is located. It's in close proximity to Roppongi, where a lot of night spots are located from all different types of genres. So you can always just catch a cab and go there if you want to. But this one particular time, we were actually on the guest list, right? This is before I got into party promotion. They don't know who I am. They know who he is, but things are different a little bit in Japan, I would say, at least from my experience, okay? So we got there And yeah, we're on the list, right? But you still need an escort. So we're trying to call the DJ, and the DJ, of course, is busy or whatnot. There's a convenience store. So we just asked these two particular females, hey, are you guys going to Harlem? Yeah, okay. So they agreed to, yeah, okay, we'll go ahead and go in with you, right? And started being questioned about who they were, how do I know them and everything. So goodness gracious, they did like a background check, bro. I was like, huh? What is going on? So actually on this night, we didn't get in. And shout out to DJ Sugi because he had the pool, but like I said, this is just part of the culture that I've experienced here. It's like, hey, if you're in there, you're in there. But just because you're friends with somebody, a lot of times it doesn't mean that, you know, they're going to hook you up as well. So I didn't receive the hookup on that night, but we were able to go back on other nights and kind of put the word in their ear, and they knew beforehand, and it was all good. So Sugi, I said, man, just go ahead and go inside, have a good time, and I'll just wait outside. He's like, no, man. Big shout out to DJ Sugi for that. Club Harlem had, you know, specific days. Big day was Saturday. Not many foreigners would go there during this time frame. From what I remember, the Japanese crowd that was there was really into the music, into the culture. They went there to dance, and that was a very fun time. And I remember going there for New Year's. Dumb, stupid, ridiculous. How many people were waiting in line? How many people were in there? Golly. So that was a great time. Another venue. Now this is in the Roppongi area that I used to go to. This is called Club Nature. And Club Nature, I didn't go to that much, but I do remember it just because it was packed. It was a small venue, but it was just packed, just full of people. And like I said, in the metropolitan area, people coming from all over the world. Roppongi is like the spot. It's almost like comparable to Times Square. Not the same as Times Square, but as far as just going out, Roppongi is where you want to go. Club Nature used to play. I was solely dedicated to hip hop. Used to go there on Saturdays. Never went there on Fridays, but used to go there on Saturdays. Another club venue was 99, which is from the Gaspanic chain of nightclubs. So there was a Gaspanic that was in the Roppongi area. Then you had 99, which was the hip hop version of this Gaspanic venue. For hip hop on Tuesday, you would go to Club Harlem. And then on Thursday, you would go to 99. And I think it was free for everybody to get in on Thursday. And there was a big military influence that would come out on Thursday. Yes, people had to work the next day, but there were so many people there. And it was such a great time with lots of potential. So, you know, a lot of people went. Those are the venues I used to go to in the Tokyo Metropolitan area in Roppongi. Like I said, there's other genres, other clubs that you could harpen back to, or some people may have gone to, but those are the ones I used to go to. The next one that I'm going to talk about is, I can't remember if this was the actual name of the party or if it was the venue. I'm sure somebody who watched this or listened to it will correct me, but Velfare. So this is actually the first time that I really remember and started taking to the whole party promotion and the party promoters, because I remember hearing about this from party promoters. And I distinctly remember this particular party promotion who would get people's email addresses when they were in line, and then they would send out event information to let people know when the next event was going to be. Now, for those people who were not around during this time, once again, this is from the 02 to 08 time frame. This is pre-social media, or social media at this time was basically MySpace. If you remember MySpace, remember I had a MySpace page, but I was just like, I tried to make it as cool as I could, but I felt like it was so much to keep up with it. But that's how a lot of people would push out flyers. But it was actually just old school. Just people go to train stations, people would go to the bases, and people would pass out flyers. There was flyers everywhere. And I remember this one particular party promoter that would, people were in line and they would get their email address, which I thought was just really, I was like, man, that's actually really smart. I would get emails from this particular party promoter and I'd be like, okay, this is when the next one is, all right? But Velfare was tremendous. That was a great venue, and its time was too short, but for what I remember, I want to say there was multiple party promoters behind this. Once again, it was in Roppongi, and there was a staircase, a lit up staircase that you used to walk up, and then you come to an elevator, and then you take the elevator and you open up and the venue was there. It was just really beautiful. It was kind of an upper echelon as far as, you know, the traditional night spot. I really like going to Velfare. Once again, it was on Fridays. It didn't happen every Friday, but it happened every once in a while. They would put it together. And it reminded me of this particular video. I don't have the name of the video, but 50 Cent came out with this video years after he kind of came out, and He had just signed Mobb Deep, and they were in a club. And I may provide the link in the description of YouTube, or put it or embed it in this video. But every time I think about Velfare, I think about this particular venue, and this is what I just envision every single time I think of Velfare. This was actually also the first time that I was kind of more or less approached about being part of a promotion. Like I said, I used to go to all the bigger parties around this time, and it's actually a friend of mine asked me, do you want to be part of the hype squad? And I saw what they were doing. I was just like, hey, it's kind of cool, but I was like, nah, I kind of like the freedom of being able to do what I want to do. So while I appreciated what their job was doing, just wasn't interested. Like I said, when I was first asked about being in a promotion group by SBE, the Straight Begging Entertainment, I was not interested. It took a couple times before I said, all right, I'll come out. But in the last episode, I talked about Yokohama Bay Hall, more or less a concert hall. And I saw T.I. for the first time. This particular group, Positive Productions, they would bring artists to these particular venues. What they would do is they would have a party, and the party promoters would help promote it. The artists would actually perform within the party. So that was really neat. That's how I got to see T.I. I didn't go to the after party. I actually went to the concert portion, but that was really cool. But at Yokohama Bay Hall, the promoters would get together and they would have and promote along with this promotion group, Positive Productions. And I used to go there. Like I said, mentioned before, they would switch off between the different venues in Yokohama. But this particular person, his name is Maki, he would approach me from time to time. And I remember the time I said, okay, I'm interested. I'll come out to your next event. I was already going to the majority of their parties anyway, so that's how he kind of could see me. So Yokohama Bay Hall was a really good event. Once again, another solely dedicated hip hop, crunk music, dirty South, East Coast, West Coast, big military influence. All the potential would come out for that. There was a stage, so you had the DJ booth that was set up on the stage, and then you looked down. There were some rails that you can look down, you can see the people would dance. You had a bar if you're standing from the stage on the far right hand side where people would line up and get their drinks. You would come up a staircase. When you got in, they would check your ID, they give you your drink tickets, and then you come in, walk through where you got the lockers, and then you go ahead and put your things into your locker, and then you can go about your business and have fun. There was a VIP area that was directly in front of the stage. In between this, of course, there was the place where you have the crowd. You could see the VIP directly in front if you were standing on the stage, or if you were DJing. Off to the far left-hand side, they had another VIP that was reserved for if people had like birthday parties, or if the artists, that's usually where they put artists over there. Like I said, there's something in the water in Yokohama, and we used to go out there and have some fun. The first event that I went to that I was a part of being, I guess, an MC was at Club B. I talked about how interconnected the music was in all the venues that I went to, whether it was in Fusa, or if it was in Roppongi, or if it was in Yokohama. It's pretty much all the same type of music because, like I said, I was in that circle. I love that circle, that hip-hop specific circle. So we used to go there on a Friday. Once again, another big military influence. The military influence came heavily from the Navy side of things. There were particular ships, notable ships that would be out there. It was cool to kind of see that dynamic and how the relations between the local nationals and the military went down. And for the most part, it was really cool. But there were some shenanigans that would happen. Sometimes there would be some fights, some really big fights, like I talked about in the previous episode. But for the most part, people just went out there to have fun, and I had fun. But Club B, you took an elevator up to, I think, the third or fourth floor. Got in, the bar was directly in front. It was elevated. You got in there, you ordered your drinks. Off to the left-hand side, you had lockers, and then you had the bathroom, and that's where people would kind of chill. It was kind of a chill-out area where you kind of could lounge around. If you wanted to, when you first immediately came into the venue, you look off to the right, and you can see the DJ booth, which was elevated. There was a little stage there. People would get up on stage and rep their city, so to speak, have a good time. And then there's, people would be dancing. And then by the bar, there was a small area where you kind of could creep by, and that's where staff and the MCs and the dancers or whatnot would go to get to the back. So I got up to the DJ booth, and there was one particular MC. I knew him already from before. I used to see him every once in a while. I just wasn't coming into somebody new, so I already kind of knew him. He had been talking to Maki about me, and kind of going back and forth on whether to let somebody new into the crew. I didn't know at the time, but he was a DJ. He basically guided me for weeks leading up until he left because he was on his way out. I remember being up at the DJ booth and I grabbed the mic, and I remember the first time I grabbed it and I started speaking into the microphone, and I was holding it like an ice cream cone. Like literally, I did not know how to hold the mic. Even though I was a fan of hip hop, I've been to venues. You know, first time you grabbed that mic, I was just like, okay, I'm ready. I can only imagine what I looked like. It must have been funny. He grabbed the mic. He said, okay, grab it like this. This is the best way to project your voice. And I guess when I harken back to that time, when you hold it that way, you eliminate, residual kind of spit and noise that the mic will pick up. And you don't want people to hear that if you're talking over the crowd. So that's the reason why, he'd have me grab the mic like that. And that's why I tell other MCs now. It's like, hey, grab the mic, speak into it, and know how to project your voice. He also taught to me about BPM, beats per minute, which is basically kind of like the tempo of the song, when to know when to come in, what the DJ is queuing up, what song is he going to play. So there's a lot of things that I learned in that first night, on that Friday night at Club B, that I didn't know MC or DJ had to do. So I thought, okay, I knew the DJs, whether it's vinyl or later on now it's all computerized and everything. There's a lot of distractions or things that happen up at the DJ booth. But I was really nervous the first time because there's a lot of people, and like I talk about the switch like in previous episodes where, you got to know, okay, this is your time. It's like acting. Well, actually it is acting, and you have to put on a show and let people know. But this was, I was like, oh my goodness, there's so many people up here. But luckily for me, I've had the innate ability to be self-aware and know when to shut up, know when to come in. For me, being an MC is kind of like double dutch. If you're a fan of double dutch, jumping rope, you see it. It's all about timing. And that's one thing that I've been commended about as far as me being an MC is just my timing. So I think my timing has kind of always been there. I can't say that I was a really good MC the first night because I don't think I was, but the team around me did a really good job of pushing me and giving me motivation. One thing I've always been confident about is talking in front of people. I know just going to a party, if I'm going to be an MC, I'm not going to be one that's just going to speak or sing the song and sing karaoke. When you're an MC, you're a master of ceremonies. Your job is to liven up the party or, to add something to the party. The job is not to take over the party. And I've seen people try to do that before. Now, if you get to a certain level, then people will come there for you, and you can do that. But just starting out from the get-go, every once in a while, if I get a drop, I'm going to say what I think, people want to hear. Like, thank you for coming out. Hey, we got this song coming out next. Mention the DJ. So there's certain points that you talk about as far as the party in general. And then people will hear that and they're like, okay, all right. Because you don't want to mess with people's music. You mess with people's music, that's a quick way to get shunned and not invited back. And like, oh, maybe you shouldn't. Maybe this is not for you. But I've always been confident speaking in front of people. When I was in high school, I actually had aspirations to be a journalist. My major in college was journalism. I actually wrote for the school newspaper when I was in high school, and I had an internship for a base paper. And then I had aspirations to be a broadcast journalist. I remember going to a job fair when I was going to college, and I was speaking to ESPN, trying to get some inside information on what I had to do as far as, getting into broadcasting and things of that nature. So I've always felt comfortable being able to speak. And once again, I harken back to the times when I was in modeling fair. So I kind of like adapted that mentality as far as being able to flip the switch and applied that to being a MC. Yeah, so I've always been just comfortable just speaking in front of people, especially, of course, when you're prepped and ready. You can kind of just let it just roll off the tongue. The first experience, I don't think it was all that great, but it was a good stepping stone that led to other venues, other parties with this party promotion group. I think the first time where I felt like I was really adding something to the party. Now, some people may say, hey, I remember the first time I used to see you at Club B and you were doing a really good job and that was great. I think they're more or less talking about once I became kind of seasoned and I knew kind of, what to expect from certain DJs. I had a good rapport with people and I knew what the crowd wanted. I think they're more or less talking about the overall experience of that. But there was another venue that I didn't talk about because I purposely wanted to save it for this section of episode 3, Warehouse 702. So in the Tokyo Metropolitan area, hip hop, solely dedicated hip hop. On Wednesday night, you would go to Warehouse 702. The person who is kind of managing the event on this night, his name was Jiro. And if you've ever been to Tokyo, you may have heard his name. He's quite popular and pretty famous for doing a barrage of different things, whether it has to do with basketball, music, and other things. So big shout out to Jiro Tokyo. I can't say enough for what Mikey did for me during this process. And the reason why is because I know, he was the head of this promotion group and he had to fill the spot or whatnot, but he did a really good job of kind of, moving me around and getting me some more exposure with other people. We went to Warehouse 702 when Jiro was there, and he kind of had spoke to Jiro, and he was just like, hey, so I got, this new MC, I was wondering if you can kind of, touch the mic and kind of, pump up and hype up the crowd. And then he was just like, who is it? Ricky. And then he was like, oh, Ricky? Oh, like we already knew each other because Jiro, he was a basketball player. So we knew each other from that aspect. I used to go to other venues where he was there and he knew me from that. So we already knew each other. So that was really cool during this time. Like I said, I already had a connection with a lot of these people that I needed to. So that was kind of lucky for me. But I remember Maki was like, oh, you guys already know each other? All right. But I remember emceeing there for the first time. And I used to go there for clubbing as well on the Wednesday. I remember vividly the DJ Unk, our UNK, jam-packed of people. There are notable songs. You have Two Step and Walk It Out. So that was back in 2007. So this is a year before I got the party promotion. But once I got in, the first time I was emceeing there, I'll never forget the look that I got from this one particular person. And I never spoke to him about it, but if you're a fan of the M1 mixtape tour, John Helicopter Humphreys, and he's known for his dunks, just serious, just ridiculous. And he was in Japan at this time because he was playing professionally in the BJ League, which is one of the Japanese professional basketball leagues. And he was playing for the Tokyo Apache. And, when they had times off every once in a while, you see a lot of the basketball players coming out to these particular venues. And he came out on this night and he had that look on his face when I was emceeing. And he was just like, just kind of vibing and bobbing his head. And I was just like, okay, I must not be doing anything wrong. So that was really cool to see that he was bobbing. And I looked around the club, and then other people would come up and they'd be like, yo, Rick, yo, man, you're doing your thing. The crowd is feeling you. And by this time, I can't remember how many months it had been. I kind of figured out when to come in between the beats per minute. You got to have rhythm when you're talking over the mic, especially when there's music playing. I think me being a dancer and knowing and having rhythm, when the music comes on, if you're a dancer, it's like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. I apply that mentality to as an MC. So, when I hear the music, it's like, okay, all right, so I gotta have rhythm and I gotta have flow when I'm talking over the mic. And that's what people enjoyed on this particular night at Warehouse 702. So I came back a number of times, and this is just, for me kind of warming up. I was very humble. I didn't think I was all that. Cause I've seen people over the years that, they do a good job. People were kind of blowing their head up and they blow themselves up and they think they're all that. And, that's, like I said, to each his own. You can do that if you like to, but I was taught by my parents to always be humble and, and let your work speak for itself. Been a fan of that, and I exemplify that, and I try to show people that you do have to market, you do have to promote yourself, and that comes with the exposure and how you put yourself out there. That was really neat to see John Helicopter Humphreys out there really vibing. During this time also, I mentioned I played basketball. I was playing for a base basketball team. I was actually, during this time, I was a starting point guard for this team, and we actually used to play this professional team. We would actually open up their season and with exhibitions against them. I remember one time we went to their practice facility and we played them, and then they come and we would play them. So for a number of years we'd actually play them. So it was interesting to see him on a competitive level playing basketball, and then know that I can see him hanging out. And then he knew I was an MC and part of this promotion group. That was a really cool connection that between basketball and just going out in general was for me. The nervousness had started to kind of subside when I first started getting into emceeing, but it's always there. I still get nervous to this day. Once I kind of developed a little bit of a name for being a MC, I started getting booked to do some concerts, but it would just be like, hey, we got this artist coming. We'd like you to, kind of pump up the crowd and introduce the artist beforehand if you're available. Once again, like I said, during this process, I was just trying to get more exposure and let my work speak for itself. So the first concert I had a booking for was Ashanti back in 2008. Like I said, this was the first year that I got into party promotion. It was in November of 2008. And it was on a Japanese holiday. I remember it was on a Sunday. I was driving up there. I got to the venue and I honestly didn't know what to expect. I figured, okay, I'm going to be ready for this. I can't remember what time I got there, but all I remember is that when I got into that venue and I got to the DJ booth, I turned my head to look at the crowd, and there looked like, man, there was like 1,000 or more people just staring there. And I know they were kind of vibing with the music and kind of just chilling out and having a good time, but I really felt like when I turned my head, they were just looking at me. And like, where have you been? You need to get this party started right now before Ashanti goes on. They were just patiently waiting. I was just like, oh goodness. And kid you not, I immediately said, oh shit. Excuse my language, but that's exactly what I said in my head. You know what? Let me go and let me get me an energy drink or something. I need something to help pipe me up, because I'm like, oh man, I gotta come in here and I just gotta get it going. So I did that, came back, got it going. One thing that I do remember just going to concerts before I got into party promotion is, when I talked about when you got to call out the crowd, you got to speak to the crowd, and you have to interact, you have to engage. A lot of people that do that with social media. When you're on social media, you ask questions, you engage with your fan base. It's all about customer focus, and I've always been really good at customer focus. So I would be like, hey, you ready for Ashanti? If you're ready for Ashanti, let me get a yeah. I get them to say things and get them pumped up, get them riled up, and that was my first experience as far as being an MC at a concert. And Ashanti was there. Of course, she put on a show. I remember she brought up, people up on the stage and was singing while she was dancing around them, and people had a good old time. And one thing I did want to say is that while, some people may think that, oh, well, you hosted these concerts and stuff, you must have, what was your experience like with the particular artist and stuff? And I'll be honest with you. So I had limited access to the artist. It'd be something as simple like, I'd get like a picture, or, I chalk it up with him a little bit. For the most part, I went there to do a job. That's a major reason why I've been able to get so many gigs and do so many venues, because people trust me. They trust me to do the job. I've seen people over the years where, they get booked and they kind of skip out, whether they're MC or they're a DJ, or if they're doing other things as far as promotion. I remain loyal to the person who has booked me. I'm thankful for the opportunity. So I feel like this is my job to do. If I'm put in a position where, I have the opportunity to meet the artist and chalk it up with them, but I've always had this mentality that, I should be doing something. I should be out there pumping them up. I should be hyping them up. Now, once again, I'm always self-aware of, whether or not I'm doing a good job or whether people are feeling me. But I think for the most part, people usually are feeling me. That's good to know and good to feel. I never really got into the artist. I just really always just got into the party. So Ashanti came on. From that point on, I was just kind of chilling out. But that was pretty much my first experience. I didn't just pick up the mic and was just like this great MC that I turned out to be years later. I had to kind of grow with it. I didn't know how to grip the mic, didn't know how to project myself through those particular instruments, but I was familiar of how to talk to people in general. So after I did the Ashanti concert on a Sunday, I got some really good praise, and the promotion group that booked me was like, okay, we think that you can do other venues that when we bring out these artists. So, and this particular promotion group, what they would do is they bring out the artists and they would go to a concert venue in Ebisu, which is in the Tokyo Metropolitan area. And then they would bring them out to Yokohama, and they basically have a concert in both of those areas. And then they'd also have an after party from which the promotion group that I was part of, we would help support. But the first time that I got my name on a flyer was thrown from my particular promotion group, and that was mostly at Club B and stuff. So that was almost immediate. Once they saw, okay, he's able to handle this, my name started going on the flyers there. But Yokohama Bay Hall was basically, that was the venue at this time. So when I saw finally my name on the flyer, the first time I had my name that I can remember was Lil Jon was coming. And on the flyer it said Crunk is dead. I'll have the flyer right here. Crunk ain't dead. Not Crunk is dead. Crunk ain't dead. And I was just like, man, Lil Jon's coming? And my name is on the flyer. There's other MCs there too. But I was just so excited. My name is spelled correctly here. You spell my name R-I-C-K-Y. But I never pass judgment on somebody. I'm very optimistic. I see it from the other person's perspective. They spell my name R-I-C-K-E-Y. If I was in Japan and English was not my first language, and someone told me their MC's name was Ricky, I would probably think that it was spelled R-I-C-K-E-Y, which a lot of people named Ricky spell their name R-I-C-K-E-Y. You think of Key, how is Key spelled? It's spelled K-E-Y, but it's my name. So I was like, I told the promotion, I was like, why did it spell my name wrong? Very nicely. I didn't make a big deal about it. And they actually said, yeah, we know, we're sorry about that. It got corrected for the online promotion use, but I believe at the venue it actually said Ricky. But anyway, if you go to YouTube and you just search like Lil Jon Yokohama, you can see how ridiculous this party was. Once again, I'm there to do a job. Once I do the job, I come off the stage. I'm not one of those people that needs to be seen. I'm being seen enough as the MC. I'm not trying to hog the spotlight. There's a dedicated time for me to have the opportunity to hog the spotlight. I use the opportunity to connect with the crowd, make sure people are having a good time, make sure, I shout out the bartender, shout out the security, thank you for having them doing a good job, shout out certain party promoters, shout out the DJ, shout out this person wearing this particular clothing, you look great. Who is that person? Y'all together make a great couple. It's always been about that customer focus. I introduced Lil Jon, and whoo, boy, man, the thunderous roar that we got from that, and I'll never forget when he came out. I think he had a white tee. It's all about the white tees, the tall tees, the black tees. He came out. He had like a bottle with like a bottle of water or something like that. And I was like, what's going to go on now? When you're elevated up on the stage at Yokohama Bay Hall, there's rails. And like I said, big military influence in the midst of the Dirty South crunk music era. They played his first song and he went absolutely crazy. He went bananas. He just started throwing the water everywhere and the whole crowd was just absolute mayhem ensued. And I was just like, oh my gosh, what is going on? This is dope. This is crazy. This is marvelous. This is ridiculous. This is super. This is fantastic. There's so many words I can think of right now. That's the type of vibe that I was, waiting to see. His music behind just the energy that he has, because Lil Jon doesn't walk around just saying, okay, what? He doesn't walk around like that. From my perspective and the interaction, that I had with him, he's just a real cool dude. But, when he hits that stage, it's just like, damn, bro. I mean, it was crazy. And the whole time he was on the stage, I remember, and oh golly, I feel so sorry for this particular Japanese lady who was in the very front row. But because of the music at the times, you can only imagine just all of the people who were into his particular music had just pushed up to the front, and she was getting crushed. And I looked at some of the other promoters. I was like, hey, do you see this? He said, yeah, we're about to notify security. So the security eventually got her to the back or whatnot, because I was just like, man, people were just in the front and they were just going, rep your city, just yelling all types of things going on. But that was the first time that my name was on a flyer in a big notable venue. Yokohama Bay Hall, had a tremendous time. That's where my popularity kind of started to grow. And that led on to other venues, whether it was in Shibuya or if it was in Roppongi over the years. So that's pretty much what I've got into. So I started off as an MC, was at Club B in Yokohama, progressively got better as an MC, was able to do more venues. Went to Yokohama Bay Hall. First time was on a flyer with Lil Jon, and that was a tremendous experience. Like I mentioned, when I'm talking to you on YouTube or if you're listening on the podcast, I do have a setup behind me where I have a turntable here. Now, I'm not a DJ, but part of the craft that I execute is that I have to be able to practice, or I have to be able to be in the same zone as that DJ. I have to be able to connect with them. I have to know how to cut music, I have to know how to respond to different types of tempos. I've always had the equipment to go ahead and practice that. On top of that as well, once I started getting better at being an MC, DJs would reach out to me to have drops. That's why I have, the microphone, the software, and things of that, or DJs for their mix CDs. So I did a number of mix CDs during this time as well. Wasn't always on the computer. A lot of times back then, before the whole smartphone craze, you had the flip phones, or you had the text on them. They had internet connectivity, but it wasn't all that great. So a lot of the video that came out, unless you had an actual camcorder, that's the only way that it was actually quality video. It's pretty much for episode 3 what I wanted to get into. Thank you guys for tuning in once again. If you have any questions pertaining to the podcast, if there's anything that you'd like to hear, any type of suggestions, if you didn't like certain things, if you want to add your perspective, please let me know. I've had people reach out and asking, hey, could I be on the podcast? Of course, that's always a possibility. I kind of want to get more and string more episodes together to get more content out there so you can kind of see and feel where I'm coming from. If you do want to be part of the podcast, by all means, please let me know and we'll see if we can get that going, all right? Once again, my name is Emcee Ricky. This is Life of the Party Podcast. Thank you for tuning in. This is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and it is on Spotify. And of course, please subscribe if you would like to. I appreciate it. And subscribe to my YouTube channel. Once again, I'm signing off. Otsukare sama deshita. I'll see you guys in the future.